John is a skilled killer who can murder anyone for cash. He is also the most expensive murderer in the criminal world. John has retired from his job after making a large income because he wants to spend more time with his wife in a relaxed environment. Natasha is the name of John's fiancée. One day, John's wife informs me that I will be spending some time with Nora, one of my closest friends. I need you to look after her granddaughter because of this. Because after their split, her father abandoned her forever. Sung-yeon is the name of the lady, who is 17 years old. John responds that the girl is 17 years old and capable of taking care of herself after hearing this. But after persistent prodding from Natasha, John agrees to watch that girl. But on the inside, he disliked doing it because he didn't want to retain a girl he didn't know. The following day, John leaves his wife Natasha and his daughter Nora at the airport before picking up Sung-yeon that evening from a coffee shop. Sung-yeon informs John that she wishes to spend the night at her friend's house as they travel. John concurs after hearing this. John does, however, hand Sung-yeon some cash before leaving. Along with the cash, he places a monitoring device in his wallet so he can keep track of Sung-yeon's whereabouts. John departs for home after dropping Sung-yeon and her companion off at the mall. Sung-yeon, however, phones John in the middle of the night and complains of having terrible stomach pain. John immediately departs to assist her. John arrives here after losing sleep, whereupon he observes Sung-yeon having fun with her partner. When John sees this, he becomes enraged inside and realizes that Sung-yeon has tricked him so that they can return to their home together. John asks Sung-yeon if she was about to go to her best friend's house, but Sung-yeon doesn't respond because she is on the phone. After seeing all of this, John becomes very angry with himself, but he manages it. Sung-yeon then asks him to leave because her other friend had invited him to her house. John realizes that Sung-yeon has duped him once more in this situation. John notices some inebriated females in this area. He becomes aware of his obligation after seeing everything. He pursues Sung-yeon as a result. Sung-yeon had a tracking device in her wallet, so John quickly discovered her position. John arrives to this deserted location. Inside, a woman called Donna approaches Sung-yeon and promises to give him $200 if he makes her client happy. Here, we discover that Sung-yeon's boyfriend brought her here on purpose. Donna threatens Sung-yeon, saying, "I won't let you leave from here if you don't follow me." She is abused by hearing this chanted yan. Donna was about to strike her when John entered the room and warned them that if Sung-yeon even received an injury, he would not leave them. John is attacked by Sung-yeon's boyfriend, who approaches him thinking he is a simple guy. But John, a skilled fighter, removes his knife with ease. Now John is being fought by every male in the room, and John beats everyone with ease. When John orders everyone to depart, Donna suddenly attacks him. John is stabbed with a knife, but nothing occurs. Donna receives a blow from John and collapses. John now departs with Sung-yeon. John's deed has caused Sung-yeon to start thinking favorably of him. There is a strong bond between the two people regarding this. They both eat supper out later in the evening. They notice officers checking as they make their way home. Officer Lee stops John's vehicle on the way here and questions him. John is informed by Officer Lee that some college students have been killed in this area, so there is some reviewing going on. Lee releases him after a few inquiries and responses. When John gets home, he searches the internet for information about that event and discovers that the boys were the ones he beat up the night before. John feels a bit sorry for those boys after hearing this news. Officer Lee visits John's home the following morning to interrogate him because John has aroused his suspicions. John is shown a CCTV image of Lee's vehicle in motion by Lee. "What did your vehicle do on the road near the crime scene last night?" Lee asks. When John notices this, he cleverly responds that other cars have also left from that location, not just my car, in that direction. Lee shows him a different image of Sung-yeon with the same guys who were killed the previous evening. John, however, stays away from it because the images are blurry. Lee's thorough inquiry raises John's skepticism toward him. Sung-yeon apologizes to John after Lee departs because she is so terrified. When John notices Sung-yeon's terrified expression, he thinks of a girl he once encountered. This girl was about to commit suicide because she had lost all hope in life. However, John prohibits her from doing so and advises her to let the past go and move on with her life. Donna phones Sung-yeon after that. She tells John that all of the boys are deceased and that your fingerprints are on the knife that you stole from the boys. "You could get into trouble if I hand the police that knife. After all," Donna says that if you don't visit me within an hour, I'll give the police all the proof. When John learns of this, he decides to visit Donna. He also gives Sung-yeon a bracelet that contains a tracking device before leaving. To meet Donna, John departs. After leaving Sung-yeon by himself, John approaches a structure and runs into a man. Jang, Donna's relative, is employed in the business of kidnapping and selling young women. John easily defeats her man after Jang orders one of his men to murder him. When John requests Donna for the knife bearing his fingerprints, she declines to hand it over. When John notices this, he begins tormenting Jang's man. Jang becomes alarmed and hurls the dagger at John as a result. Jang suddenly shoots at John as he stoops to grab the knife while also beginning to run away. Jang is swiftly pursued by John in a room. John comes across a combatant who treats him fairly. However, after seriously hurting him, John departs. John heads right home after the altercation. When he gets back home, he finds out that lots of people have come here and have abducted Sung-yeon, taking him away from this place. John uses the tracking device on Sung-yeon's bracelet to locate her fast, after which he grabs his weapons and heads there. When John arrives at a deserted street, he immediately attacks. Donna attempts to flee, but John is able to capture her. Whereas Sung-yeon, John queries of her. According to Donna, if you kill me, my friends will kill Sung-yeon, and you won't even be able to locate her corpse. When John hears this, he decides not to kill him but instead to torture him, at which point Donna begins telling John the whole truth. She claims that our duty is to kidnap and sell young females. Sung-yeon is a lovely maiden who caught someone's attention. Furthermore, that customer has generously donated funds to enable us to abduct Sung-yeon and deliver her to him, and we provide females to them in accordance with the client's requests. He is asked by John where Sung-yeon is. When John asks Donna for the name of the client who requested Sung-yeon, she replies that she does not know him but that her supervisor does. At this point, John begins to make his way to the hotel where Sung-yeon was kept, held onto. The cops arrive here after departing from John. Officer Lee finds Donna in a room, but she is deceased by the time he searches the area. On the other hand, when John arrives at the motel, the occupants start attacking him as soon as he enters. John murders them all by himself with ease because he is a skilled fighter and killer. Sung-yeon is not, however, staying at this motel. Here, Yuri, a guy who is also a professional fighter, arrives in front of John. Yuri informs John tomorrow at 8 a.m. that he is a member of the Russian mob. Sung-yeon will be transported by ship to Russia. I will murder you here, so you won't be able to save her. John tries to exit in an effort to save Sung-yeon from a fight with Yuri, but Yuri follows him inside. Since both of them were professional combatants, they have been engaged in a protracted battle and are equally competitive with one another. John seizes the chance and leaps from the window. By using a cord to tie Yuri, he stumbles and lands on top of Officer Lee's vehicle. John is asked to follow Officer Lee to the police station as he brandishes the gun and aims it at her. John, however, handles her deftly, taking the gun away and imprisoning him. To save Sung-yeon, he departs in her vehicle. John eventually makes it to the cargo harbor where Sung-yeon was headed for Russia. Sung-yeon is inside, as John can see. After killing the gangsters who had abducted Sung-yeon, John quickly attacks them all in his car. Zhang then attacks them, but John severely beats him and asks him who it was that had demanded Sung-yeon. But Zhang keeps his information to himself. John then shoots the man. Lee is alarmed by what he is seeing. Zhang made the final contact to Officer Lee, which John discovers when he searches Zhang and discovers a mobile. John realizes that Officer Lee is associated with the same individuals who traffic in girls in this instance. You tell me about the guy in charge of all of this, John says to Lee. If not, I'll give this phone to the reporters. Following that, the public will learn the truth about you, that you are a corrupt cop who supports a gang in girl trafficking. Lee consents to it because a police squad was already on its way to this location. The entire incident, according to Lee, was a result of a police investigation. Additionally, he dispatches Sung-yeon and John to the hospital. When Sung-yeon regains awareness and arrives at the hospital, she apologizes to John and says, "This is all my fault." John, however, calms her down by telling her that it is not her responsibility. Lee says to John in the hospital, "You killed numerous people to save Sung-yeon, but I have suppressed all those cases." John claims, "I arrived. I found Donna's dead corpse in your car trunk, so I knew the same day that you work for Zhang's employer. You were aware that the authorities could look into Donna's death and apprehend her boss, so you take Donna's corpse out of that place." Lee is astonished to learn all of this. John requests that you provide me with knowledge regarding the Russian mafia, which initially traffics girls. Lee declines because it is a dangerous profession. Lee eventually sides with John though because the evidence he has against him could put a stop to his entire career. The following day, Lee gives John a call and gives him the hotel's location where a man by the name of Park is staying. The same gang that kidnaps young females and sends them to Russia includes Park as a member. On the other hand, Park also learns that the Interpol official is aware of the location of the object. He then begins to leave the hotel quickly, but John just now shows up. John takes out each of her men one at a time. He then severely beats Park and inquires about the person who requested Sung-yeon. Park summons a woman who works for them and is referred to by the locals as Pig Mother. John learns from Pig Mama's contact that the Kim judge is the one requesting Sung-yeon. John is informed by Park that we kidnap females who are underage before delivering them to the judge. Judge has fun with one of the females before selling the others for a very high price to Russia and Asia. John kills Park after obtaining all of his knowledge. When someone calls here, John requests them to come right away. A team swiftly arrives, clears the area of the crime scene, and disposes of all the bodies in the area so that no trace of the crime is left behind. The crew that just arrived here is actually cleaning up the crime scene thoroughly to ensure that no evidence is left behind. This squad only assists the mafia and gangsters. After that, John visits one of his partners in the weapons industry. He surrenders a large sharpshooter to John. John was now prepared. When Lee finally contacts John, He informs him that the judge who is behind everything is actually Central District Low's president, and that I shouldn't mess with him because of his connections to powerful politicians. Since John is a professional killer and doesn't fear any politicians or law enforcement, he accepts his location. Lee also discloses that Sung-Yun now resides with her stepmother because her father was killed in a car accident. John arrives at the hotel where Judge Kim was making out with the attractive females after collecting all the information from Lee. John uses his sniper to take out the judge's soldiers one by one. To appease the judge, Pig Mama has sent a fresh female over here. John kept entering the room and murdering everyone. Yuri, who is also present, begins shooting at John. Here the shooting begins. Officer Lee, who was with John, is also present between the two. But as soon as he has the opportunity, he takes John with a pistol. John is apprehended by Yuri and brought before the magistrate. If you are the same person who requested Sung-Yun, John queries the judge. He simply grins upon hearing this. Court commands Lee to murder John. John assaults Lee after Lee exits the building with him. To murder John, others have also arrived here, but John quickly defeats them all in a battle. Lee is informed that I only turned myself in so I could meet the court. Here, John murders Lee. Then Nuri appears and begins shooting at him. A protracted struggle follows, and John eventually defeats Yuri. He seriously hurts Yuri before killing both of them. John now enters the judge's chamber. Judge is aware that John will murder him. He therefore gives John a job and uses money to entice him. John asks justice regarding Pig Mama. Then Judge informs him that Pig Mother is a business partner of mine. John also kills Judge after obtaining all the details about Pig Mama. Natasha, on the other hand, is pictured with her close companion Nora. They were both seated and conversing when Nora's phone rings. Nora answers the phone and drives over in her car, because Judge's phone was used to make the contact. Actually, in collaboration with the judge, did the entire female trafficking business. Nora, Sung-Young is not Nora's kid because her mother was her stepmother. She was thus fetching a premium price for her adopted daughter. John had heard all of these things from Judge. After killing Judge, John uses her phone to contact Nora. John, who is seated behind Nora, is visible when she answers the call inside the vehicle. Upon seeing John, Nora expresses her shock. Truthfully, Nora was unaware that John was a skilled murderer. Instead, she was thinking of him as an ordinary individual. John picks Nora up and brings her out of the city, promising to look after Sung-Yun. He murders him after saying this. The same team that used to clean up the crime site is called in by John. All of the proof is removed from this area. John then runs into his wife and gives her a big embrace. Here, we learn that Natasha was the female that John had previously prevented from committing suicide. The movie now comes to a close.